Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds Podcast.
Each episode, we invite extraordinary guests who are masters of their craft. They're innovators, entrepreneurs, and of course, motorcycle enthusiasts who have made their mark in the world.
They share their stories, insights, and hard-earned wisdom, giving you a front row seat to the strategies and experiences that shape their successes.
So sit back, grab a drink, and get ready for an exhilarating ride as we dive deep into the minds of these exceptional individuals.
Along the way, we'll uncover powerful strategies, gain fresh perspectives, and explore the limitless possibilities of what it takes to be an American mastermind. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds Podcast. I am your host tonight, Tover Shear. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Adams.
What up, what up?
We got a very special guest appearance by Mr. Scott Watson. He doesn't know the hand thing, but usually Alec goes over here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very special guest for you here this evening. Rob, why don't you give us a little background on Kate Strong?
Oh my gosh, superhero Kate Strong in the house. She's here to share with us tonight how we can grow, learn, connect with ourselves, turn up the internal peace and trust in ourselves, and turn down the noise of the world. Isn't that right, Kate?
That's right.
All right, let's get started. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I am so stinking excited to have you here. Kate is by far and away one of my favorite people in the world, and I'm waiting for the chance for you to disappoint me, and you continually impress me. Like all the time, I'm just like, wow, that's a nugget. You've given me things I've journaled about our conversations that I've journaled about other conversations, but not as consistently as I have the stuff that you've dropped on me since I've known you. Some really amazing things. One example, and I just want to jump right in. In 1996, the LDS Church put out something called the Proclamation to the World. And I was very LDS at one time. In fact, I had that memorized word for word, and we were doing a coaching session, which is something that you do for people, and I'm working through some things, some programming, and I quoted almost word for word the Proclamation to the World. And Kate's like, wait a second, I know where that's coming from. I know what you're talking about. And she's like, are you congruent with, I'm ad-libbing here, with those thoughts? And I was like, you know what, not really. I'm not really in alignment with those, and that's why I was feeling kind of gross. And you said, you should rewrite that. You should write your own proclamation to the world. And I thought, man, that sounds hard. But I got it, and I read a piece of it, and then I kind of did, no, this is what I think. This is how I feel. This is what I believe now. And I wrote it out. I printed it, and I framed it, and I hung it on the wall.
Kidding.
Yeah, it's in my house. And it looks just exactly like the proclamation to the world that the church put out there. And if you were a member of the church, you'd walk through the house and probably think that that's what that was. But if you were to stop and read it, you'd be like, wait a second.
There is some stuff in here.
Things are a little...
Church
he
is going to
sounds
be a
very
little
empowered.
This guy doesn't think like, yeah. And so I wrote it down and I put it on the wall, and I have it in there, and I've got it in my office, and I've got it in the bedroom, and I've got it in the bathroom, and I've got it in there because the things that I have come to believe that are running in the back of my mind, I don't know that that's happening. A lot of beliefs that are limiting us. And I'm not saying, I don't do it as a slander towards a church. I have a lot of other beliefs that I've inherited through my parents and through being a member of the military or a police officer or all these different things that have limited me. And as I'm learning from you, Kate, I'm learning to overcome those ideals. And so what I want to talk to you about today is like, how did you get here? How did you get to be such a magical witch doing all these these amazing things? And I mean witch in the nicest way.
I love being called a witch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Witches are just females with intuitive power. We all have that. And if you actually want to go deep into the history of witches, I recommend you do that, because witches were identified as women who were healing animals and humans. And I believe that tenderness, nurturing, love can heal anyone or anything. And so it wasn't that these women were casting spells necessarily, maybe just something like a laying on of hands. As you mentioned earlier, right? It's pretty similar. So I honor being called a witch. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll look for my broom on the way out.
Well, my very favorite person in the world is a full-on witch, and
Yes.
I love the heck out of that witch. She's terrifying and wonderful at the same time.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's a compliment.
It is. Thank you.
So let's talk about it. Let's go back and start with corporate Kate.
Yeah.
In the way back days. Like let's
do.
do that. So where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I grew up in Alabama. I'm a Southern belle. My parents divorced when I was young. My mom got remarried, but wasn't with my stepdad for very long. Married, but he was around for a long time. So a lot of my life was my mom and my 3 sisters, just us women. And when I saw my
Oldest?
I'm the second oldest.
Okay.
And a big part of where I began and where I am today started with when my mom lost the love of her life. She was really depressed and in the bed for a long time, not able to show up in a way of parenting that felt, like what I needed at the time. And I told myself in that moment that if I were ever to have my heart broken like that I would surely end up depressed and in the bed. And so I put a protection around my heart, and I shifted out of this like softer feminine version of myself into this very like, I've got this, I can get shit done. I modeled and watched my stepdad, who was very successful in commercial building and real estate and things like that. And really what he modeled to me was, here's an outline for how you live life, and if you do it, then you're going to get this. And so that felt really safe for me. The emotional piece was like, I don't even know, like you'll be destroyed. And so I lived a lot of my life in my masculine, so to say, which is very organized and structured and like, checklist and like accomplishment and productivity. And it wasn't until probably the last 10 years putting myself, after getting divorced and leaving the LDS church, back into this role of I'm not a stay-at-home mom anymore. And so what does that look like? So this pendulum shifted back to, I know what works. I'm going to go back into the corporate world, and I'm going to follow this way of being. The thing is, after being a stay-at-home mom and raising my kids and letting my heart open to that and listening more, to what that mom's instinct, if you will, it kind of was cracking open a little bit of that softer side of me again. And I'm noticing in business that in order to be in business and be a female and to get respect, that women were showing up like men, right? It was like, well, wait. But there was a disconnect for me of like, well, what's the point of having her in that position if she's just going to put on the mask of this very masculine? Where is the space in this for women and men to come together and work together? So I've never really been like a feminist. I appreciate the pendulum having to swing where it did in order for us to get where we are. I think that's part of anything in life. We go to extremes, it's like a breakup. I'm never dating anyone like that again, or like this pendulum. But I started to watch and see this feminine as like, well, what is the feminine strength? Like, how does a woman get to use her masculine traits, but like not completely let go of her softness or her intuition? And so that was part of the navigation part. And then what really ended up happening is, as I started to learn this on my own, I started to realize like, whoa, emotional IQ is a big thing. And like, if I'm going to allow myself to go here, I'm going to have to feel in a way that I've never felt before.
Scary.
It's because it's overwhelming if you've never done it. And we've all been taught that when someone says, how are you doing? How are you feeling? There's like 5 things: good, awesome, happy. They're all positive, and there aren't that many of them. Dr. Brene Brown wrote a book, and it was published about 1.5 years ago, maybe a little more. And it's called Atlas of the Heart. And she talks about us having
Amazing book.
82 emotions. 82.
Yeah,
Really?
because most people can only like name
30 max.
but
I
most
had
people
like
are
4.
like 7 to 10.
Right?
Yeah.
So I dove into that book as well, and I just started doing my own work. And really what happened is I changed, and what I realized is that it's an inside job. Everything is an inside job. People will come into our lives to trigger us, to remind us of something, to hold a mirror back up and say, here's this thing. But ultimately, what I do with that and how I respond to that is up to me. And so I just started making it an inside job. I started putting myself in safe environments and safe places where I could allow myself to feel and do the work. One of those, I went through a Lightwalker series. It's a very interesting story, but coming back to the heart space, it was my first Christmas without my kids as a divorced mom of 4 kids. And, it's not like there's anything planned. It's like it's Christmas. I'm going to be with my kids, but they weren't with me. And I had a friend reach out and she said, hey, Kate, her name's Robin Johnson. She's fantastic. Love this woman. And we had met each other at a wellness tribe. Now, y'all, this is like 8 years ago when wellness and like all the woo-woo stuff we're talking about was like yoga was even kind of like, you're doing what?
Yeah.
And now everyone's like, yeah, we do yoga. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a fitness
retreat.
class,
Yeah.
but whatever, call it yoga. But yes, that's where we were. And she said, hey, someone dropped out of this. They do a women's retreat every December for single moms, and they're all sponsored spaces. Someone had dropped out. She said, come, there's an opening and you can come for free. So it was called the Brave Hearts retreat.
Ooh.
So it was all about breaking open, bringing back the barriers around your heart, right? And so I started opening up and softening the heart. And it was so impactful that when it ended, I said, what are you doing next? Like, I want to be involved. She said, well, we're doing this 6-month Lightwalker series. Would love to have you join. And I don't know about you, but I'm one of those that if it feels good, I don't even ask all the questions. I like say yes. I start with yes. I actually have a quote that I post all the time that says start with yes. So I'm a yes girl. I'm like, yes, it feels good in my body. And then we'll figure out all the other details. So she sends me, I say, okay, well send me, because it's on the weekends and it's for 6 months. She sends me the days. The only day I had my kids was one weekend in March.
Are you
And
serious?
I was like, this is a yes. Like, I'll figure out March. It's January. I'll figure out March. So I said yes. Sit down at the first one. We sit there, and 30 minutes into it, they say, and at the end of this, you'll be a shaman. And I literally thought, what the hell have I signed up for?
Yeah, who are these
like,
people?
I don't even know. Like, what am I doing?
What does that even mean, right?
Yes. Here's what's cool, guys. I had come from a very religious, structured, here's what you do, here's the checklist again, right? That masculine thing. I was like, this works for me. Tell me what to do. Just point me in the right direction. I'm an operator. I'll go. And so I was just open, right? And it was really cool because what I learned is that even though religion wasn't working for me, I'm still a very spiritual person.
Sure.
And I got to learn about spirituality in a different way. So I learned about things like energy centers and meridians and chakras in the body. And then we would learn about like animals and spirit animals and like what animals mean and what do they symbolize. And then we learned about Reiki, energy work, and I got Reiki certified. And so again, they were all of these like spiritual things, and it felt like I just got to like, try this on, try this out. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? At the end of that, I received 10 rites of the Moon Eye Key under this Lakota tribe and the shamanism, and it was complete. And then they said, well, there's one more that you can get. It's called the 13th rite, and it was given by a woman for women. And I was like, why wasn't it 11? Why was it 13? They're like, well, because she named it and after the 13 moon cycles. And it's all about women, and it's all about women in the womb. And there's a lineage of women that wanted to pass down and remind women that the womb is not a place to store pain and fear, that the womb is to create and give birth to life. And this lit me up because here's the thing, guys. I was a love child, which means my mom had an affair, and I didn't even find out who my real biological dad was until I was 40 years old. And that's another story. My mom confessed at spaghetti dinner before going in to have a surgery to remove a tumor, which was the lie. Well, but so many things, right? Yeah, come back.
I'm making a note.
Yeah. But so I've always felt these like this interesting thing around like how I was conceived, and then the very first time I ever had sex in my whole life, I got pregnant, and we broke up that night because he was like, well, I could never marry you because you're Mormon. And then that trauma of like my whole experience with that. And then I want to get pregnant. I'm married. I want to get pregnant. I have 3 miscarriages and can't keep a baby and keep losing babies at 20 weeks, 22 weeks. So my whole experience with like having babies, getting pregnant, me being a love child, all these things, when they started talking about the womb, no one had ever talked to me about this before. No one had ever said, hey, did you know that when your mom was pregnant with when your grandmother was pregnant with your mom, your egg was in her? So think about that. Energetically, everything that your grandmother experienced while she was pregnant with your mom, your egg, energetically, in her. Now go think about your mom. For 9 months, the womb was your first home before you ever came to earth. Energetically, was she excited to be pregnant? Was her marriage good? Was she stressed? Was she feeling anxious? Was she nervous she was going to have a miscarriage? Like all of those things we never talk about. But yet we all come into this world with trauma. Where do you think it came from? So I started diving into this stuff, like, again, trying to figure out my own thing. And then that led me down this path of personal healing. And then I felt like I got to share this with other women. So I started doing this retreat 9 years ago, and I've done it ever since. It's coming up here in May, and it's been like
Is it the one Annie's going to?
Yes.
Oh, man.
So it's super empowering because, again, the womb, we're not here to create from fear, which a lot of times we do. It's like, oh, well, what if I fail? Well, what if I get rejected? Well, shouldn't I just be happy with what I have and be grateful for what I have? And so we stop ourselves. But when there's complete love and trust, it's like, what could we actually create? Right? And so that was the big leap for me into this whole spiritual world. It was my own journey to try to really understand myself and to heal myself from my own trauma and my own experience. And then, as you know, I've been doing this work for years, and full time really stepped into it probably like 4 years ago. And it's the easiest thing I've ever done, you know? And my whole platform and everything I talk about is ask yourself. Everything's inside of you. And I know that because that was my journey. And it doesn't mean it's easy, and it doesn't mean you don't need a guide. I've had co-parent coach, divorce coach, I have a business coach, I'm surrounded by coaches. I have a mentor who's a medicine woman. I have all the team because we're the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So surrounding myself with all of these people has helped me become who I am. And I am confident that anyone can do this if they get quiet and listen. And Rob, I think that's where you and I connect, because I'm bringing it back to you. And I ask good questions, right, to help you get there, but I'm just leading you back home. Because ultimately what I want is for you to turn down the volume on the outside noise and distractions and turn up the volume on your own intuition. And it started with women. And for a long time, you know, in branding and marketing and all that, they're like, women. I'm like, yes, and. I have as many men who want to work with me one-on-one, men like one-on-one, women like groups. But even allowing myself to be open to that, right? Of like, this is a universal thing. Like, I think we all want to feel good. I think the more we understand ourselves, the more we can trust ourselves. So if I know me better than you know me, why am I going to ask you for advice? I'm not. But if I don't know myself, then I'm going to look and ask the guru. I'm going to ask the life coach. I'm going to ask
the church, the bar, whatever it is.
100%.
It's we're looking for an external validation. That's powerful, Kate, because I think a lot of the world is struggling because they're looking for answers externally.
Outside of themselves.
And you'll never find the true wisdom, your truth, I guess is the better way to put it, from someone else, because how the hell would they know? They're on their own journey. I can make suggestions. You know, this has been my experience. This is what I've learned, but it doesn't mean anything. That's powerful, man. See you guys.
You know, what's crazy though. So you're going off and you're coming from the witchy perspective, however you want to put that, right? I'm studying in the Stoics, and it's amazing the carryover that we have. I've just in the 2 seconds of jotting this down, mastering your emotions, turning inside, surround yourself with the 5 people. That's why this building is here right now. Yeah. That's why this podcast is here. You know, the carryover of all the stuff that you're saying, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Guys, it's all truth. I believe that like when something is real and truthful, we'll have a different spin on it. I'll say it a different way. But ultimately, truth is truth. It exists. It's there. And that is why when we have this conversation, we're all like ding, 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 because it's pinging something in you. It's pinging something in each of us. And again, truth is truth. One of my prayers, I have a couple. So one of them is, universe, show me how good it gets.
Oh man, I've been using that.
Start saying that. You're like, show me how good it gets.
She's got me saying this all the time.
Universe, God, show me how good it gets.
Show me.
Show me how good it gets. And the second one was coming back to what we were just talking about with what's on your notes down there? What's the last thing we wrote down? This universal truth, right? Yeah. And so I always say, I'm like, I pray that the truth will reveal itself. It's such a, I've had a lot of, and I don't know about the language on here, so if you have to beep it.
Go ahead.
I've been mind fucked a lot in my life, okay? And what I realize in those, what I realize now, what the definition of a mind fuck is, it's when someone's telling you something, but your body is saying, nope, but everything's making sense. It's all like, all the facts are there, all the information's there. So why would you not, like, it's all here, Kate, it's all here. And I'm like, okay, yes, but it just, something's off. So I betrayed myself and didn't listen to that gut feeling for a long time. And then I would just be like in the abyss of fog and mind fuckery. And like, I just can't even. So I just started, that was my only prayer. And I wasn't even like, hey, God, or whatever. It just be like, I pray that the truth will reveal itself. The truth will reveal itself. And it does. It really does. And not always the way that we think it will, but it will. It really will. And it feels so like I don't have to try to reconcile this. I don't have to, this person, like karma, whatever, like that is not on me. How much time do we spend going back into the thing of like trying to be understood, trying to prove that something was right or wrong? Like, we spend a lot of time in that. And I've had to really work through my work in the last year has been this thing about feeling like I want to be understood. It's like, well, if they just knew me, if they just understood, then da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and really just surrendering that and being like, you know what? They may not understand me, and that's okay. Like the truth, I just pray that the truth will reveal itself. So that truth thing, coming back to that, it is a universal thing, and I believe that it will always, everything will sift out, but that like the truth is there.
That's what we're finding. The truth, the saying I've got going on here is the truth's in carryover. Okay, like everybody, one day we're going to get to 100 episodes and we'll go back and find all of it. But choosing your heart, everything's hard. Which way do you want to go? It's a theme that happens over and over and over again.
What about the extreme accountability, like personal accountability?
Man.
Almost every person that we've talked to is just like, and I'm here because of me, and this is the decision that I need to make. It happens again and again. And
like you're turning to your gut. That's what I call it, the gut.
Yeah.
You're kind of your body.
Sure.
Same thing.
It is. Okay, guys, you ready for this? I want to challenge you a little bit.
Oh, no.
So you said something that I get a lot, and it's choose hard. And I'm going to challenge you on this. One of my pillars is it gets to be easy. Okay?
All right.
Ready for this?
Let's hear this.
You're like, give me the easy. So here's what I believe. It's hard when we choose to suffer. It's hard when we tell ourselves it's hard. It's hard when we aren't prepared for whatever it is that we're doing. So I'll give you an example. I have a mastery program, and we focus on 5 pillars: your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, and your social relationships, okay? Because relationships are the currency of life.
Sure.
In this, we do one practice in each of those 5 pillars every day. Now, choosing hard would be something like, I'm a fat ass, I got to get to the gym, and I've been slacking. So, okay, Kate, I'm going to commit to do 45 minutes of workout every single day. Okay, cool. Let's get to the next pillar, mental. Okay, I'm going to listen to a podcast every day for 20 minutes. Okay, let's get to the emotional. Okay, I'm going to journal every day for 10 minutes. Okay, what about the spiritual? I'm going to meditate. By the time you add all that up, you've just added an hour and a half to your day. So it's going to work really great for you until you don't have an hour and a half. And then you're going to throw it or toss it away, and it's not going to be a thing anymore. And then you're going to get in guilt and shame because it's like, oh, here I am again. I'm doing the same thing again. Like I always start and I never finish, and I'm gaining all the weight back. Whatever the story is, right? It's a pattern. We all do it. In this process that I do, you get 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes. And here's what's cool about it. I'm a maximizer. So my ideal is how can you do multiple things at the same time? So if physical, you're going to work out for 45 minutes. Well, let's say it's 20. And if you want to overachieve that day, great. But minimum, you're going to do 20 minutes. And while you do that, listen to your podcast, right? And then we're like, how can you do multiple things during that time? And the success is better and it's easier. It's easier. It doesn't have to be hard. Another way you can make your life easier is get to know yourself. Get to know your strengths and your weaknesses. Get to know your light and your shadow. Because guess what? I know that as an Enneagram 7, my shadow side is addiction. I am an Enneagram 7 is all about pleasure. Fun, pleasure, good time.
Right now.
We don't want to feel the ick, the pain, the dark. Oh, that's interesting. That's my whole childhood. Fascinating. Okay, well, if I know that's my default and I'm using cannabis, I need to be really clear about my cannabis use. Is there an intention? And what is the intention? Am I just trying to like not feel, or do I want to create?
Connect or disconnect.
Yes, yes. So it all comes down to knowing myself so well that I'm not going to tell you that I can give you the process from here to here in business. I suck at processes, but you know what I'm good at? I'm a synergist and I'm a visionary, and I can operate if you give me a list and I need to, but you know what I suck at is a process. We are taught as kids that you come home with a report card, and what grade did your parents focus on?
The bad ones.
The lowest grade.
Yeah.
And guess what they say? Work harder, do more. What if they said, gosh, Rob, you suck at math, but you know what? You're really good at reading. Let's focus on reading. That's your superpower. I'm a certified Clifton strength coach because I love Don Clifton. He was a psychiatrist in the 50s, and he said, what if instead of studying what's wrong with people, we started studying what's right with people? I love that. I'm like, positivity, let's go. And so they came up, they've done over 1 million assessments. It's called the Clifton Strength Assessment. But he has a very, very short explanation, and he says, listen, it's like there's two kids. They're both, 8 years old, and they both have a basketball in their hand, and they're both dribbling, and they both want to be Michael Jordan. And they're out there, and they're dribbling, they're doing skills, they're doing the,
drills and everything.
all the things, shooting, whatever. Both of these kids can practice just as hard, but if you've got one kid that's just naturally athletic, good hand and eye coordination, comes easy to him, it doesn't, and he ends up being 6'3", and this kid's 5'8", it doesn't matter how hard you work at getting better, it's not your thing. So what if instead of working harder, we could work smarter? What if you knew yourself so well that you knew your blind spots? You're like, look, I'm actually not going to go down that road because it is going to be harder. And if I'm doing whatever it is, I'm going to set myself up for success by surrounding myself with safety nets, with people, with whatever it is I need to do so that this gets to be a little bit easier. This is the feminine. This is what I've learned. The feminine is about flow. The feminine is about intuition. It's about listening to the gut. It's about following that instead of needing to have it all figured out. Because when we've got it all figured out, guess what? We're not open to suggestions. You already know. But what if you're curious
Holy
and you
shit.
can say,
She just mind fucking.
God damn.
Woo, roles are reversed. Cool. Here we are.
Yeah, I've got to think because I hear what you're saying, and you want to do the gut check. It makes sense. But
Well-
my entire mental model, okay, is it's all hard. I'm built different. That's where I take my pride in. But
If
I'm
you want it,
mind-fucked. I
if
don't
you
know,
want
yeah.
to be, if you want
if
hard,
that's what you want, if that's what makes you happy, well then it's hard. Then have it be hard. I can see. Can we just spend a second there because I choose my hard, and let's talk about the gym. Like
Okay.
I've lost 125 pounds. It was hard to be heavy. It was hard to be tired and sweaty all the time, but it's hard to go to the gym too the fact is that it really isn't hard for me to go to the gym anymore. I'm treating myself. If I don't go to the gym in the morning and treat my body to some movement, even if it's a hard workout, I still feel really good. It's not hard, because I've gained the momentum. So my question is, how do I get the momentum from this hard over to that being easy? Because me first going to the gym, not easy. It was wicked hard, sore, miserable, not seeing the results. So that's what I want to know, Coach.
Great. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh, I hate that saying.
I know you do. But here's the thing, Rob. It's like when we identify something as hard, when do we allow it to ever be easy?
Yeah.
But if you can say, like, you know what, this is uncomfortable. This is so uncomfortable. Like, my body's overweight. I hate the way that my arms are rubbing against my sides, and I'm always pulling my shirt down because my stomach's hanging out when I bend over, and then my butt crack, and I'm embarrassed, and whatever, right?
Yeah.
If that's the dialogue in your head, you're gonna always, always, always find evidence for it being hard. You will always find what you're looking for.
You'll prove it true.
That our subconscious has two functions. The first is to keep us safe. The second is to prove us right.
Oh,
I'll repeat that. Your subconscious is there to keep you safe, which is what stops you from taking risk, which is what stops you from falling in love, which is what stops you from
Really growing.
Yes, because comfort zone.
Yeah.
Comfort. You break out of the comfort zone, and then you're always going to find evidence to prove you right, because that's what the brain wants to do. In fact, if someone's acting a certain way, they maybe haven't called you back twice, and you're like, I knew it. I knew they don't like me. I knew this was weird. I knew whatever. You're right. Yeah. But what if they've just been busy and you approach it as though that's not the truth, and they're like, hey, gosh, thanks for calling me. I've thought about you 3 times, and I just keep getting distracted. We've had a sick kid, and like blah, 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 blah. It's like, or that's right. So you're going to prove yourself right no matter what. So if you can, now I want to be clear, don't lie to yourself. Don't say it's easy if it's not.
Yeah.
Do not tell yourself that, because you're out of alignment. You're lying to yourself. But you can accept that it's going to be uncomfortable and that you don't like it. And in the moment, if you're lifting weights and it is hard because it's heavier than what you normally lift, and you're like, this is hard, great. There are times to use the word hard. I'm not saying take it out of your vocabulary. It's a swear word. But I am saying that if you believe it's hard, it will be hard. But if you can see it differently as like, okay, I'm getting to know, my muscles are getting stronger, or I'm getting to know myself better. So like, yeah, maybe I'm still getting triggered, but my recovery time is shorter and it's less frequently. So it's actually getting easier.
Yeah.
When you start to tell yourself that it's getting easier, it feels easier.
Yeah.
It feels lighter. So you start getting more ease.
Yeah.
So
it's all in how you frame it.
It's how you frame it. Get uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then you're going to feel the way you're telling yourself it is, right? It's like, we've done this before, try it, right? It's like you can be dreading something that you have to do, and it's horrible and it's a pain, or you can just be like, you know what? One example, opening bills. I used to open bills, and I used to be like, oh my gosh, I hate this so much. Like, just all this stress about money and bills and whatever. And someone once told me to be grateful, to open each one of those and say, I am so grateful that I have electricity. I am so grateful that I have a phone to connect with people I love. I am so grateful that I live in a home with a roof over my head that I can pay a mortgage on.
Yeah.
It changed. Still opening the bills, you still owe the same amount of money. But you, again, the inside job, your dialogue is different. And that's ultimately what I'm talking about when I say hard versus easy. It's like, what are you telling yourself?
Powerful, man. Kate, we're going to have you on like next week too. Like this is.
I need to digest some of this and we'll come back with more notes.
And pause. I need to think about that whole thing. Well, let's talk about how do you create how do you create a healthy mindset around abundance? Like a lot of people that I'm running into right now are in a very, groceries went up 31% last year, and the interest rate's 7% on a mortgage, and so there's this belief of lack. There's this, and I think it's worldwide. I feel like it's everywhere. Help me shift my perspective on that.
I agree. This is something that's come up a lot. And especially when I know that you're in the real estate world, and we know about 2008 and how that all works. And if you just even watch real estate trends. Just for an example, you know, it's like we have this pattern. You can literally watch it. You know what's going to happen. You're like, oh, we've got interest rates, and then, you know, or more people are buying, and then
Prices go up, and the
and
thing
then
in the
you can watch it. You're like, so the first thing, Rob, that you asked about abundance, you need to first of all pull back your perspective and your lens, see the bigger picture, right? We're all going to have highs and lows. It's life. Like if you think you're just cruising all the time, you're not. And I don't know about you, but I remember being younger and looking at people, you know, like us and being like, oh my gosh, they've got it all figured out. Like they're so, like all the things. And we're here and we're like, oh, I hope everything's, you know, you're like.
We're making it up.
Yeah. We're figuring this shit out as we go.
Yeah.
Glad it looks so great, you know. Got the branding down and the marketing. Cool. We got it. Okay. But the truth is, really, 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 what I'm going to tell you is I think you have to partner with God.
All right.
Okay, so here's, and I'm not talking about the gray-haired beard guy in the sky.
Santa-looking guy.
I'm talking about the creator of all, or the abundance of the universe. There is no lack. There's no lack. There's enough out there. We have enough resources. We have a bunch of smart people. When there was this whole thing around gas and oil and all that, I'm like, so what? We'll figure something else out. Guess what we have? Electric cars now. Like we evolve, we grow, we figure it out. So if your belief is that we have really smart humans and we have plenty of resources, that in and of itself is an abundant mindset that we'll always figure it out. There's always enough. What it comes down to is that if there's a disconnect in abundance, it really probably comes from like a worthiness thing of like, well, that's for everybody else, but not for me. Or if I want more, that means I'm not grateful for what I have. And if I should just be grateful for what I have. And when we can think about money as just a value exchange, it changes things. But again, your value that you're giving, you have to believe that it's valuable, right? So it's a self-worth thing.
So if you don't feel like you have value, then you will never create abundance.
You're the bottleneck. You're like the thing that's capping it off, right? It's like you're going to get whatever you believe you're worthy of. You're going to call in whatever you believe you're worthy of. If you believe, so for me, okay, coming back to the God thing. So after I left religion and I wasn't even sure if I was going to be, I was like, I don't even know. I might be atheist. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not even into that stuff anymore right now. Then I went through that whole shaman thing and it was like, okay, you are spiritual. I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? Well, only until about a year ago, not even 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I started doing this thing where I was walking with God. Now, it was the first time I brought a masculine energy into my life when it came to God. And it's because I had another masculine real life human leave my life, and I was feeling this like I wanted that feeling of like security, and I just started walking, and I'd just be like, okay, so this is what we're like, conversation. I was calling it my walk with God. And what that unfolded into is that my work and what I'm here to do is bigger than me. And I believe that if we all get really, really clear, the thing that's going to light you up and satisfy you in life is the thing that you're here to do. So number one, if you want to learn about abundance, what's your purpose? Why are you here? What lights you up? Right? And then when you know what that is, then it's literally like a Jesus take the wheel, because you're saying like, listen, I'm here to show up, to serve. You're doing this all the time. I'm here to show up. I'm here to serve. There's a high value in what you're doing. And when you believe that that value is literally saving lives, what's the price on saving a life?
Infinite value.
That's your value. That's what you do. And so when you believe that, what would happen if Rob wasn't here, right?
Yeah. What would happen? This Thanksgiving's Heroes wouldn't be a thing. Maybe American Masterminds wouldn't be a thing. Maybe.
How many lives are you touching by just being you? So your value is more than what you do. It's who you are, just by being you. And that value, when you understand that value, then abundance is your birthright. And you understand it that way. It's like all this abundance is going to come in because it's going to help me reach more people. It's going to help me, right? And why do I need to fly direct flights? So I can help more people, so that I can get from here to here in a shorter amount of time. Also, I don't need to sacrifice my family. I don't need to sacrifice my kids. That's my number one. Put that on there and circle it big and say, I get to do this because this is why I came here, first and foremost. And I also want to do these other things.
Okay, so many things I want to unpack in that.
Okay.
There's a lot of things in there. Number one, I can see as men, our primary demographic as men, we define who we are by the value that we bring. I am worthy because I'm providing security for my family, and that comes exactly from the amount of money that I make, blah, 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 like whatever your story is. And so if that's my personality, then I'm never going to have security. There's always going to be next month and I need to provide value or my who-ness. Also, the other thing that you said that I thought was powerful is in the discovery of our why, who we are. We as a culture have a very difficult time with that because we're presented with so many shiny objects, and then we, I like how Topher does that. I want to be like Topher. When I grow up, I want to be just like that guy. I admire him so much, but I can't be Topher. There's already a Topher. And so you're going through this discovery of like, that's not who I am, and this is who I am. And I feel like I've come to my purpose, why God created me. And when I did that, it's very liberating. But then to create the world around that, how do I make that support me as much as I want to support that in abundance? How do I do these things? And this relationship with God, because I am a man and I was born from a man, I look to that man, and that is my definition of who God is. And that man was flawed, and there's so many things of this walking with God, unpacking worthiness and who we are, that seems kind of impossible. It's a lot. We're talking about a lot of things because we're not just talking about one angle that we're coming in from. Like as a man, I have all of these constructs of belief that are keeping me from abundance, keeping me from happiness, from security, and it seems impossible to ever shift away from that because, as you said earlier, like, you're back to who you are. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, I am this monkey in this monkey suit doing my monkey dance, and it seems impossible to think otherwise.
Thank you for being so authentic and vulnerable. Rob, you said so many things, which number one, welcome to the world of personal development, personal growth. It's never ending. And it's not just one thing. And I love that you pointed that out. It's not just one thing. So what we do is we see ourselves here at the bottom of the staircase, and up here is where we're trying to go, right? Okay. Success, security.
Whatever that is.
Whatever it is. And you're like, well, I'm here and I'm trying to get here. But it's so overwhelming because you're like, there's all these different parts and layers and things. So this is where micro shifts in behavior need to happen. It's the little things. This comes back to like your self-talk. And if your self-talk is where you start with just saying, I deserve this. And I'm going to start with just worthiness. You can go down a rabbit hole on worthiness for a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. Whatever time, however long it takes for you to get that one thing, then that's one step. Then you pull back another layer of the onion. It's like, oh, and I've got this whole thing where I think I got to do it all by myself. Like, I'm not supported by God. I'm not supported by the universe. I don't have enough people in my life to help me. So then you get to deconstruct that belief of I'm not supported until you get to a place where you're like, you know what? I'm worthy and I'm also supported. So if abundance is the top of the staircase, there are stairs and layers of that onion that you have to peel back. And that's why, and also you might get, go around and then back on the staircase and we know it's not like a straight, but going up that is the journey. And that's why I always come back to, you are the medicine. There's lots of different tools. There's breath is medicine, sound is medicine. We have plant medicine, meditation, yoga. There's all these different medicines, but ultimately why I always come back to you are the medicine is because all of these other things are just aha moments or awareness. And you're like, oh gosh, okay, I saw that. But you and I talk about this all the time. It's integration. It's like, okay, so now that I saw that that's possible, how am I going to embody that? And because everything is energy, you can't lie to yourself and say, I'm worthy, if you don't really feel it. And abundance is about attraction. It's the law of attraction. And if you don't believe that you are deserving, then you won't get it. I'll say to everyone right now, start practicing receiving. If you want to work on abundance, start receiving. You're really good at giving. But if you're not receiving, then you're not doing the abundance equation, which is infinity, give and receive. And this is where you get abundance. And you have to receive as much as you give for that to actually start to flow in your life. So start with receiving. When someone says, hey, can I help you with that? No, I got it. Yeah, thank you.
I need to work on that.
We all do.
I had knee surgery last Friday, and we went to Lagoon Sunday.
Rob.
Anyways.
Doc, you didn't hear that.
No. So I took a wheelchair. We have a wheelchair that I got at this one of our estate sales. And so I'm sitting in this wheelchair. I'm like, yeah, this seems like a good idea until I'm in the wheelchair. I'm 240 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. I'm not easy to push around on a wheelchair, especially Lagoon is not flat. It's uphill and downhill. And one of my best friends in the world, Aaron, was pushing me, and it was so hard for me to sit in this wheelchair and have someone else push my body, this mechanism, even after I've lost all the weight, after I'm still a big person. I felt terrible. And it was like this lesson all day long of receiving. And there was a couple times where I'm like, stop, I can do this. I'll get out. I'll just use it as a walker. And he's like, no, you're injured. You have a legitimate reason to be in this wheelchair. Like he's a good enough friend that he can just like tell me the truth. And it was terrible. It was terrible, Kate. I having to receive this love from a good friend, great friend of mine. And he served and pushed me up and down the hills. We went all over Lagoon, riding around. Even in the dirt through the Pioneer Village, we're riding around. And I'm just like, this can't be easy. This is not like a fancy wheelchair. This is like bottom of the line, not four-wheel drive, nothing, And it was... And then the second part of this interesting story, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, was like to get to the front of the line. I've seen people do that so many times in my life, and I'm like, that bum. Like I've been standing here for 20 minutes waiting to get on the Sky Ride, and this guy's going right to the front of the line. It was terrible for me, and here's what I would do. My injury became worse. Like I would like exaggerate, like me getting off of the wheelchair and getting onto the Sky Ride because I felt like these people were looking at me, judging on me, and I'm like, and then. Because of the plant medicine I've done, I can hear my thoughts. I'm like witnessing this happening inside of me. And I'm like, why do I care what any of these people think? I will maybe never see them ever again. And here I am like getting out of the wheelchair all ginger and getting onto the Sky Ride, and they had to shut it down. And it's humiliating. It was humiliating, and it was so good for me.
Yeah.
It humbled me because I've looked upon others or not even looked on them. I've discounted them entirely because they're in a wheelchair, and here I am, a pretty healthy human in the wheel. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Like, it really changed my perspective on the whole thing. But what you're saying that really resonates is I can't receive. I have a hard time with that.
And abundance is receiving.
Abundance
you have
is
to
receiving.
be willing to receive the abundance.
The gifts from those around us.
That's right. And you never know where it'll come, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think that we believe that abundance needs to come in like a dollar amount. Like, oh, abundance means I have more money in my bank account. But really, abundance is about what you're bringing into your life, which might be an opportunity to go on a family vacation to create memories or whatever it might be. It's
gratitude about whatever it is.
100%.
That's what it is. If I'm wildly abundant. Like after riding in the wheelchair, like I'm so thankful for my healthy body. Abundance. Yeah. That's abundance. Yeah. I'm so lucky that this is a temporary lesson for me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have an abundance of health. Another thing you could do is, again, what you focus on grows. So write down an abundance list. In your life, how are all the ways that you're already receiving abundance? Because when you're not believing that you have abundance, then you're in lack, right? So then you're focused on what you don't have, and what you focus on grows, you get more of, because you are the creator. Are you creating from love or lack?
So an abundance list would be something like
Health.
my health,
Your relationship,
my relation, all of the
your
things.
daughter, everything that you are like, this fills me up. This feels so abundant. I'm so grateful for this. And then you start to see, you're like, I actually am really abundant. And you said it, it's like that gratitude thing where when you recognize the gifts that you have been given and your health and things like that, then you can see it. We oftentimes don't see that until it's taken away.
Yeah.
Right? And so you can learn the lesson with it, or you can wait until it's taken away. You can choose hard, or you can choose easy to see what's there right in front of you right now.
You know what you reminded me through, to back up a little bit, and like being worthy and whatnot. It was actually a mental shift that I made, because you said something in that God's up here, and it was a mental shift to take God from there to in here. Okay, am I worthy? Well, if I'm just a drop out of the bucket here, of course. Of course.
Of course.
Of course. Do I deserve to have something good happen to me? Well, God's in here.
Of course.
Of course. It simplified everything dramatically for me.
It's like you are one. It's already existing within you.
So the of course comes from I had an experience in Peru where I felt like I met my creator, and she looked upon me. And have I told you this story before?
No, I want to hear.
And and I realized that the distance between me and my creator, between me and God, is created by me. That's never from her. There's never a distance. Mom never wants to be far away. Like she always wants to be right with me and love me. And I said, as I thought I would, and from the dogma that I was raised in, please forgive me. Please love me. Please. And she's like, of course I love you. There was like this, like almost like what a silly thing to ask. Like, of course, Rob, of course you're forgiven. You have nothing to be forgiven for. You're doing your best. Like, of course. And so that's my mantra all the time is, of course. Like, am I worthy? Of course I'm worthy. Am I good enough? Do I deserve this? Of course. And so I share that with my friends here in my tribe, because it's important that they know, of course you're worthy. Of course you're loved. And so, time for some edits.
So you've had the aha, Rob, right? Like you had that experience, and now
I have to believe it
and practice it. Like this is the embodiment and the integration coaching that I'm so passionate about. Again, we love to give ourselves aha moments. We love to listen to a podcast or go sit and plant medicine.
But what do we do with it?
Well, exactly. And this is when you take it and you say, okay, I'm going to do exactly what just happened here, where it's like, I invite you to change your language around God being here and start to imagine and see and experience God being right here. Right? So but that's foreign. It's different. We always prayed to God above. We always literally knelt down to look up to pray. Right? It was always something in the distance. We were always trying to gain acceptance to the kingdom and to try to get there. And if we did something, it was like, we'll do more. We'll keep doing more. Keep working on it. Keep becoming worthy.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that we would have a disconnect with feeling unworthy. We've never felt worthy. We've always been trying to gain worthiness. So for me to now say, this is a worthy issue, well, no shit. Duh. We all have it. Like we've all felt unworthy because we were always told that we were sinners and dirty and like need to repent all the time because you're always
redeemed,
messing up. Yes.
recovered, brought
you
back.
need that Savior.
Yeah.
You need him. You can't get there without it. So give yourself some grace, because you're talking about 40 plus years of programming that you're aware of now. But to actually now embody this new awareness takes time.
Yeah.
And we love to rush things, and we love to be like, well, I know it now. So embodying it is, again, it's a little uncomfortable. But the beautiful thing you said, and I want to bring this back, is that post-plant medicine, you're now able to have this almost like conversation that's not you, but it's the awareness. It's like you're observing. You're the observer of yourself instead
Yes.
of identifying with just you.
Yes.
And that's why I talk about these 4 bodies, because your physical body is not your mental body. It's also not your emotional body or your spiritual body. So when you're having this dialogue, that's your mental. That's one of your 4 bodies having this thing, which is cool.
Shouting
if you
out.
can,
That's the loudest body.
Totally. And if you can, and that's what it means to be human, right? We got brains. So if you can learn how to get the mind to work for you and to see it and not go down that shame cycle, my number one, step number 1 in this process for me of like, how do you change your mind is expect it. Expect the unworthiness to come up. It's the programming.
Be looking for it.
Expect it. You just expect it. You're like, oh, I'm here. Duh. I knew this was going to happen. Ding, ding, ding. Number 2, awareness. Okay. What's happening? What's the dialogue? What am I saying?
Where do I
Then,
feel it? How does it?
where do you feel it in your body?
Yeah.
And oftentimes, if you want to go really deep into this process, when you feel it in your body, it's because that feeling in your body is a trapped memory that you didn't feel safe to express when you were younger. So your body held on to the memory. And a lot of times when people are overweight, they can't lose weight. They're like, look, I've done everything. I'm like, let's work on the emotional part, because you're holding on to stuff that you haven't allowed yourself to work through because maybe you didn't feel safe. Maybe you didn't have the tools or whatever. And so,
Disease. That's what that is.
100%.
Oh, man. Smart. I love this, the mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional bodies. And also the thing that you said that I really like is expect it, because I'm constantly surprised by like, oh, here I am again. Here I am having the same fucking conversation that I've been having for 50 years. And why am I surprised? I should expect it. I should
Yes.
expect this to come up and be, because it's who I am, and not be surprised or maybe even disappointed.
If it makes you feel any better, as a non-LDS member and grew up that way, the worthiness and not being good enough, that is the carryover amongst everybody that's come on and is trying to get through this journey. That is the number 1 issue. You are not in a boat by yourself.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, Toph. I think that I feel like the more I've talked about it, which isn't easy to do. It's as a man, it's easier for me to, I got this.
Yeah.
But the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, I'm actually kind of down the road. Like I've met a lot of people that are just kind of stepping into their shame, guilt, and they don't even know why they feel shame. They don't even know why they feel guilt. The plant medicine is really created for me, and I think I said this already, but it's created for me this, like, that's interesting. Look at that. Look at that running across the radar. I had to put my dog down yesterday, and I went up and I had to bury her today. And I was like this, I was a witness of all of these things rolling across my mind and in my heart, like this sadness and the anger and all the grieving steps that were a part of it. And not a commercial for to do or not do plant medicine, but this consciousness of it really has made it an easier experience. Like I just, it's okay for me to feel sad. And where do I feel my sadness, and how do I feel it, and what do I need to do about that, rather than just feeling sad? Do you know what I mean? Or feeling mad.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It's this, and is that emotional intelligence? Perhaps. Maybe it's me growing up finally after over 50 years. I don't know what it is, but I feel like that emotional, that witness, being the witness, has been tremendous in my life. It's taken a lot of the victim out of my language.
100% right. That victim is like, it's happening to me. I have no control over this. Like the emotion, this is where I was like, I'm not feeling that. It's going to take over. I'm going to have no control.
Yeah.
When I started to do exactly what you're saying, I just became aware. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling this. Like I started with anxiety. I worked with, it was the coolest thing. It was called a walking meditation. I had a coach. This is years ago. And she said, I don't want you to change your behavior. I only want you to notice. That was our first week. Don't change anything, just notice. Okay? So I'm literally driving home from this appointment, and I pull into the gate of where I live, which is the same home I lived in when I was married. And I notice I'm pulling in the gate, and my heart just starts pounding, and I'm like, oh, again, the observer, right? Yeah. Awareness. I'm
what
like,
is this?
Yeah, and instead of saying, I am so anxious, I was like, oh, I'm feeling anxious, because words are powerful. So anything after I am is creation. don't say I'm tired or you'll be tired. Don't say I'm anxious. You will embody anxiousness, but you can be the observer and say, I'm feeling this. Like I'm noticing my body's like getting tense or whatever. So my heart's just pounding, okay? I've lived in this home while we've been divorced for a couple of years. So this was not like I was really going into anything.
New. It wasn't a
Right.
new
I
space.
pull into the garage. I open the garage door. I'm still feeling nervous. The second door in my house is the pantry. I walk to the pantry. I open the door. I'm standing there. I'm like, this is interesting. I had lunch an hour and a half ago. I had eaten right before the session, right? Like,
What
this
do I
is
need
interesting.
potato chips for?
This is interesting. Literally grabbed potato chips. Literally, Rob, grabbing them, and I'm eating them, and I'm going, oh, fascinating. Normally, I would have been in a shame, right? Like, there's a whole thing. But I just started noticing. I'm like, this is so interesting that I do this. Rewind. When I was growing up in my house, when my mom was going through that really hard time, there weren't a lot of like cooked meals, and it was kind of like whatever
Available.
you can get.
Yeah.
And there weren't healthy options, but there were potato chips. And I remember taking bags of potato chips and pouring them out in the yard, pouring bags of potato chips out because I was hungry, but I didn't want to eat potato chips.
What?
So I had this whole full circle moment of like, oh my gosh, potato chips are soothing.
It's a drug.
Yes, it's like the thing that's feeling the thing. Now, what you need to know is what I ended up also realizing. Why was I so nervous? Why did I need to be soothed right when I walked in my house? There was a very, very high expectation of cleanliness and perfectionist when I was married. And I was on the
Point
edge
all the time.
Wow.
Wow.
And I would be nervous if I've been gone and I come home and I had little kids, 4 of them. What's going to happen when I get, what am I walking into? Like, what is going to happen? And so the healing came, number one, when I was now safe. I wasn't walking into that anymore because we don't heal if we don't feel safe to heal. But again, it was this process of noticing like, whoa, look at my behavior. But it's like I was able to compartmentalize or like not just be like, oh, this is all Kate. And I'll go deeper with this. So I have this critic in my mind, okay, like super critical, pick me apart, like criticize. So part of the addition to what this walking meditation and what we got to is naming the critic in my head.
Oh,
okay?
we've talked about this.
Kelly.
Kelly.
You know about Kelly.
Richard.
Kelly the critic. You got it. So Kelly the critic. And I used to say things like, shut the fuck up, Kelly. Like, shut up. But again, we're talking staircase here, right? Progress. We're peeling back layers. After I finally identified Kelly, I was mad at her. I wanted her to be quiet and shut up. I then got to a place where, so what is going on here, Kelly? And what I realized is Kelly is Katie, which was me at a younger version, trying to keep me safe. The critic was like, don't do that. You're not right. Like, number one,
failed at this before. Be
keep
careful.
me safe, right? Like, don't do that. Stay safe.
You know better than this.
Be in the safety zone. You don't even know what's going to happen. Play it safe. So taking that another layer, and this is the work of personal development is, then you can get to a place of like, okay, now I've identified the critic. I've named it. It's actually not me. It's a part of me, but it's almost always a younger version of ourselves that's just trying to keep us safe. And so then the next level is when that comes up, you pause, you sit with that younger version. And then as an adult, we get to parent ourselves. Because truthfully, we're those of us that are parents, we know we're going to mess up. And it doesn't matter all the things you do. There's going to be the one time or the one thing or the one whatever. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's the one thing they remember and they're scarred for life, right?
So let's just take a minute and do this. Like,
Yes.
I'm gonna be Kelly for a second.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Hold on tight.
Let's go.
You know, Kate, I told you that you couldn't do that. I told you that this would be, and here we are. We're in this place. I told you, and this is the place I was worrying you about. Like, duh, here we are. Yeah. This is my voice.
So the first thing I would do is ask myself, and I would say, are we safe now? Because questions are better, right? Because in this process, asking the questions versus telling is coaching 101. It's what we do. So if I'm like, we're safe now, I'm telling her, I'm not empowering little Katie.
So you would ask.
So I would say, well, are we safe now?
Well,
and
no, we're
then-
back in the same place that we were before, and maybe it's even a little worse. Here it is. Like, this was a terrible. To that new car, I told you.
But now I have tools. But are we the same then that we were now? So like if you're getting super specific, get super specific. So if you're talking about, well, I bought a car and now I
let's
don't
go
know.
to something else, like
Okay.
like fitness.
Okay.
What she's describing is the game of war.
Yeah, go.
It's the game of war. You're presenting yourself an
Yes.
option of how you can view this situation. By you asking a question, okay, how do I feel? Are we safe now? Well, wait a minute. What does that mean? Am I not safe? And you're not going through this because in real time, you're not going to be able to do that. So it's literally what you're describing. Or are we safe? Okay. Now what's the next one?
The game of or.
The game of or.
Yes. So if you go back to me doing the walking meditation, right? Before, when I was married, it wasn't safe. I wouldn't have been able to pause at the pantry to go, oh, I'm doing this because what's waiting on the other side is right there.
Yeah.
And I'm not even thinking about the fact that I can try to even figure out why I'm doing this. Post-divorce 2 years, no one's in the home except for me. It's my home. But it can look however it wants to look.
Yeah.
So in that moment, okay, this is interesting what's happening. My heart's beating. I'm sweating. I'm having anxiety the same way I'd had it 2 years ago. But now I'm saying, well, wait, okay, are we safe? Yeah, okay, I'm okay. Everything's okay. My body's having a physical, visceral reaction to what the pattern is.
Some stimuli that doesn't even exist
Totally,
anymore.
but in my mind, my body was hardwired to still keep me safe because after so many years of that.
When we get to the gate, then the garage
Totally.
door, then the door,
Totally.
then mayhem.
Totally. But in that moment, it was like, okay, the story in my head, it's like, no, that's actually not true anymore. So what happens is the story that was true as a little kid is no longer
Serving.
true now. And it's not even true now. It's like maybe we were younger. Maybe there wasn't someone there to feed us, or maybe there wasn't someone there to, make you feel safe. But you are safe in your home now, or you can find a safe space now to process through these things and to really allow yourself. I always say never do this work unless you're safe. So everyone listening, don't start this without creating safety around that, and don't wing it. Get someone to actually help you who's been through this, who knows how to do this, right? Didn't just think about it, didn't just read about it, didn't just hear it on a podcast, but you can look at them and you're like, they are living proof.
They've done it.
They're doing it. And then they can say, this is what you've done. And that's where I got to where I am. Because when I got into this work, it was for me. It was my own journey. It was my own healing. And then I realized, oh, my medicine could actually be medicine for someone else. It could actually help someone else. And then as I started watching, I'm like, there's something to this. And then, of course, I studied the great Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton with mind and learning how to change your mind, how to reprogram your mind. And Napoleon Hill, I mean, we can go way, way, way back. And it's like we come back full circle. If it's true,
It carries over.
it carries over.
And to your earlier point, this game of or, it gets easier. It gets easier.
It gets to be easy.
I do it, and now I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
It's literally just everything. Is it this or is it this? It's just constant. Always presenting yourself a choice to frame what it is that you're looking at.
And this is brilliant because it even comes back to that curiosity, right? Or you're curious. You're not resolved in what it is. But if you already know the answer and you're clear and defined, it opens up no space for this or.
Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff, man. Okay, so let's talk about something you mentioned earlier about turning down the noise of the world and turning up your intuition, your feelings. How does someone... I know we've been talking all around it, but let's get very specific. Like, what is it that has to happen first in order for me to have, I guess, to start on that path?
Yeah, I love that. So this comes back to that process of getting to know yourself. And there are lots of tools and lots of different things. I mentioned one thing, Clifton Strengths, right? Like when you learn what your top 5 strengths are and you know your superpower and where you're going to thrive and what comes easy, That's huge, because a lot of times we discount the things that come naturally easy to us because it's just like,
oh, I can do that. It's so
and
easy.
we devalue it.
Anyone
So
can
talk
do
about
that.
abundance.
If I could do that, anyone could do that.
Right. So talk about abundance mindset. Start to see what your strengths are and go, oh, I'm actually really good at that. And it's not hard. It's easy. It comes naturally. It's how I was designed.
What a gift.
Lean into those strengths.
Yeah.
Then I would say find out what your values are, and not just like, oh, here are my core values. I have 3. No, in your relationship, in your family, in your business and personal. Take a piece of paper, draw a T on it, and create 4 quadrants: personal, relationship, family, and business. Some of these values will overlap, but not all of them. And the more clear you are on what your values are, that is your mission for that, for your family or your personal mission or whatever. Again, this is getting to know yourself. So now you know your strengths, you know your core values and all 4 pillars. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to create a desire list. I call it a pleasure list. What do you want? If you could have anything in the world, what lights you up? In 2 columns here, Rob, one that costs money and one that doesn't. So talk about getting to know yourself, right? Your joy list, your pleasure list, your happy list. You know, on at any time, this is going to make me feel so good and it costs money, or it doesn't. Here's what, this is how I make, your values are your roadmap for decision making. Roadmap for decision making. If your core value, your personal core value is family, and you get invited to go to some gala, but your child has a recital, and you're like, oh, I'm so torn. Well, my core value is family.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah, it's not, you're not, your decision's made.
Totally. So it's getting to know yourself. Now, some other tools I love are the Enneagram. I told you that. The Enneagram is free. It's online. Actually, it might not be, but it's a,
Great book. There's a couple of
you
books.
know it.
Yeah.
And so it's just, again, you get to know like your light and your dark, right? Like, and the Enneagram goes back and again, tells me some of those things of like what I didn't get in my childhood. So I have a default of like just wanting to feel good and pleasure and like watching all that. There's another one I love called human design. Your human design is all about energy, how you attract and repel. It also tells you when you're out of alignment. I'm a manifesting generator. When I feel frustration, when we feel frustrated, we're out of alignment. It has nothing to do with the other person. If someone frustrates you, it just means what they're requesting, what they want, what they're asking you to do, what they're saying does not align with you. And if you can just see it as like, oh, I'm just out of alignment. It has nothing to do with them. It's an indicator. It's an indicator.
Yeah.
So you learn all these things. You know how you attract things energetically. You know about your core childhood stuff, your Clifton strengths, your values. I know myself so well. So now I don't need to ask everybody else. Because guess what? I'm only saying yes to this stuff. So that helps a ton.
Yeah.
And that's how you turn up the volume on you. You get to know yourself so well. You're not asking other people, where should I work? What kind of person should I date? What about this? Should I go to that? Should I not go to that? You're like, I got all this information right here. I know exactly what I'm good at. You want to hire me? I'll do this, 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 and this. All the other stuff I'm okay at, but this is my zone of genius. This is how I attract things. So as manifesting generators, Rob, we are the type that lots of people will look at us and they're like, they've got their hand in like 10 pots. Like they are throwing shit against the wall to see what sticks. Like they are into everything. They have a hard time keeping up. Right? That's us. Right.
That's true.
People don't understand manifesting generators, right? Because there's so much going on, but we thrive in that and we want options. That's who we are. So even self-acceptance of like, this is just who I am. That's the second part of the formula of know yourself. So the better you know yourself, then you can accept yourself. Like, this is who I am.
The power in this, not to derail you, is that a lot of people spend their whole lives trying to find out what they were made for. We talked about that. Like, what's my purpose? And without knowing these things, you'll never know your purpose. It would be easy to define your purpose if you knew your strengths and weaknesses, because then I could say, oh, you know what? That does turn me on. That is something that I have always been really good at, rather than like, because you're right. It's easy for me to be like, man, if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's easy. Why do things that are kind of impossible for other people to do? Because it's just something that I'm good at, you know? And that's powerful.
It's your superpower.
It's your superpower.
And again, it's the easy button.
Yeah.
It's because it's what naturally comes easy.
And what if I could do that all the time? What if I could stay in my easy?
And why not?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you were created?
Yeah.
Isn't that your unique thumbprint on the world? But we're out there trying to do what everybody else is doing, and then we're like falling short because we're not doing it as well. Well, duh.
Yeah.
It's not our path.
Yeah.
So then you accept all parts of you.
Your value would go up.
Yes.
Your confidence would go up. You would create more value. You would create more abundance. I'm seeing a pattern here, Kate.
Right.
It's
called the love yourself cycle.
Huh.
Self-love cycle. You know yourself, you accept yourself, then you trust yourself.
And then you know yourself, and then.
Yeah, and then that cultivates this self-love. And I think that's what we all want as humans. I don't think there's anything else that we can all say, like, I want that. But as a human, I've never met one human that doesn't want more self-love. Ever. Never. Have you? I've never met anyone, and I've asked this. If you could love yourself more, would you want that? Yep. So how do we do that? You have to accept yourself. Like, this is who I am. I'm not trying to be something different. I'm not flawed. I'm not broken. I don't need to be fixed.
Wow. The thing about this self-love is that the way that I was raised is that that could be bad. Like,
Selfish.
Selfish.
Self-care is not selfish. I talk about this all the time.
Yeah. It's not. It's actually the most giving thing that you could do. If I could love myself, as I've grown older, I've learned if I could love myself more fully, then I have a capacity to love my wife more fully. I have a capacity to love others, even strangers, more fully. And in so doing, I can serve them at a higher level, and I can do it out of a place of authenticity that if I'm not doing it, it's unsustainable. And so it is this, like, it's really the foundation of everything else.
100%. So you're talking about the foundation is really self-care. Those pillars I told you, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social. When you are taking care of yourself and filling your cup in all of those pillars every single day, your cup is full. So let's just give an example. Annie comes in and she's just like, I've had a day and I'm stressed and whatever. If your cup isn't full, you join her in that stress.
I add to it.
You make it worse.
Yeah.
If you're like, you're good, you're calm, you've done the thing, you're like, okay, babe, tell me about that.
Yeah, help me understand that.
You let her talk. You don't try to like make it about you. You hold space. You're like, all great. And then at the end, she's like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Thank you for letting me say that. She feels great.
Yeah.
But if we aren't full, we don't have the bandwidth and capacity. As a mom, single mom especially, I used to feel so guilty about taking time for myself. Right? I'm like, well, I just only have my kids 60% of the time. And then when I have them, the last thing I want to do is go to this thing. And like,
you're already tired.
Right. But I had this thing where it was yoga for me. And eventually my kids got to a place where they'd be like, hey, mama, you should probably go to yoga. Right? They got it. They're like, oh. And so I started to see, I'm like, wow, when I come back from yoga, I'm present. My mind is slowed down so I can look at them. I can spend quality time instead of quantity time with them. And so the quality, and again, we treat other people how to treat us by how we treat ourselves. And self-care is not selfish. It's necessary. If you don't take care of yourself today, you will pay for it.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you will. You'll get drained. And so really, it's the greatest thing you said. It's the greatest thing we can do. And as we start to take care of ourselves and nurture ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then we start to cultivate that self-love. So in my self-mastery program, we do the 5 pillars of self-care first, and then we go into something called the care system, which is confidence, alignment, resilience, emotional resilience. How do you actually feel all these things and not be, all over? And then embodiment, because then you embody all the things, and that's the practice. And so that creates more of that self-mastery, self-love, that cycle. And how cool, don't we all want our kids to love themselves? So how do we think we're going to teach them that? Do they believe what you say or what you show them?
Only what you show them.
So show them how to love themselves by loving yourself.
My daughter just got engaged, Mariah, 26 years old, my most successful science experiment so far. And
That's on the next podcast, y'all.
yeah.
We're coming back.
And her fiance Jeff came and he asked me for her hand, like very
Love that.
very sweet, very respectful, all of the language he needed. And the thing I told him, I said, Jeff, I'm going to ask you to do two things. And the first thing that it is, and if you do these things, I will support you and be your biggest advocate. But the minute you quit doing these things, I'll beat your ass.
Nice.
Dad talk.
Yeah.
Dad talk.
Can't wait.
And I said, the first thing that I need you to do, Jeff, is promise me that you'll take care of yourself. You are the priority. Love yourself. Be healthy. Be strong. Be all the things that Mariah fell in love with. Because what we do is, as men and women, is we sacrifice ourselves to make someone happy, to make them full, to make them successful, to make them. And the fact of the matter is that almost creates resentment in a relationship. If I'm spending all my time being a sycophant and coming to you and trying to bring you a drink and take care of you and love on you, which is all good, but if I'm doing all those things at the sacrifice of my happiness and my health, then I'm not serving you. I'm not loving you as my partner. And that's in every area of business. Like I have to fill my cup first. And then I said, and then the second thing is her. She comes next. Like she's more important than video games and friends and jobs and all of the things. It's her, but it's in that order. You come first and take care of you. And I saw him like kind of sit back. Like I think he was expecting different advice. Like you put Mariah first. And I'm on my third marital contract. I've learned along the ways that in order for me to be successful and happy, I can't say my third wife because I married the same girl twice. Like,
Okay.
So,
Contracts.
the third contract. So the fact is that I learned that if I can make myself strong and powerful, then I am attractive to Annie. And that comes with loving myself. And this is what I'm coming into this last year is it's not even about the mechanism being physical and strong. It's about these other things that we're talking about, the spiritual, emotional bodies. And that has been way heavier than any dumbbell I've ever curled. That's hard work for me. And I should change my language around that. That is uncomfortable work for me because it's easy for me to be a critic of myself. And so I find a lot of power in what you're saying. And I think everybody needs to know this. This is healthy living 101. This is basic stuff. How can someone get engaged more with Kate to learn these things and become more whole and healthy?
Follow me on social media. I talk about these things regularly.
All the time.
I offer master classes to just, first date, see how you like it, right? Low risk. Just come and see what I'm talking about and see if it fits you. I would also say start with taking care of yourself. Start with some self-care. Start really like investing in yourself first. And then let's talk about how to really customize like a specific blueprint for you that works for you, that, goes along with your travel schedule and your kids' schedule. And, a lot of times we want to just plop ourselves into something and it's not a one size fits all. Like we're talking about the uniqueness of each of us. But yeah, I'm sharing, I'm giving a lot. I love that. And find me at Kate Strong World. And, I'm the one that's in my DMs. So if you want to chat there, you can. But yeah, I've got a lot of things going on. Again, remember y'all, I'm a manifesting generator. So you're going to be like, what does she do? Retreats or sound baths or plant medicine or this self-mastery program or what's Kate up to? All of it. The answer is all of it. I'm doing all of that because I'm going to come back to you are the medicine. And all of these things that I offer are resources and tools to help you come back home.
Yeah. And
to help you turn up that volume on your intuition and turn down the volume on everything else.
Interesting things. Well, listen, American Masterminders, you motorcycle riders out there, I had this unique experience with Kate. And this customization of the experience I want to share. Is that all right?
Yeah, please.
It's my show. I can do whatever I want.
That's right. Turns out, ask yourself.
Right. And so I love to ride my motorcycle. And the reason that I love to ride my motorcycle is you can't anything else on your motorcycle.
It's the best.
It's the best. The air hitting my face, blowing my whiskers, the wind through my long hair.
Right, you got it.
The hair that I have, just the whole all of the thing. I'm very present in my body. I really am feeling myself. I'm listening to the machine, the mechanism that I'm on, and what the RPMs I'm at, and I'm going to shift and go
Hold
around.
on. You're trying to tell everybody you pay attention to RPMs or speed or anything like that?
I'm not paying attention to anything else.
All
That's
right.
your problem.
Oh, okay. All right.
When I ride with these guys, they're mad because I'm 100 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour.
And,
And then 100 miles an hour.
and back.
Because I'm just in the moment. I'm not paying attention to these guys trying to keep up. And so
Right.
Just try
That's
to keep up.
Just try
to
right,
keep-
Rob. Right.
It's your fault.
It's totally. Here's where I'm going with this is that over the Friday last week, you had a sound bath. And if you're not into the, and I'm throwing it out there, the hippie world, the sound bath is kind of a cool thing. These frequencies are
Great
hitting your
entry
body.
into the.
It's a great
Yeah,
entry.
I mean,
Yeah.
even if you don't know anything about it, it's sound frequency that will calm your nervous system.
Yeah.
At minimum.
Yeah.
So you'll just at least feel calmer and more rested whether you understand any of the things or not.
Yeah, you don't have to know what it's about, but
just come lay down.
at the beginning of it, they did this
Qigong.
Qigong. I was going to say Qui-Gong, which is a guy from Star Wars.
Oh,
That's fine.
naturally. Yeah.
Qigong.
Qi.
And Qigong is a little bit yoga. It's a little bit breath work, and it's mostly just moving your body, imagining, gathering, moving. And I'm doing this exercise, and I've never done it before. Never in my life have done it before. But I had this moment of like, this is what I feel like when I'm on my motorcycle. Like I could feel my breathing. I could feel the air. I was moving in a very intentional manner to accomplish. It's riding your motorcycle without being on your bike. And I've never had that experience not on a bike. Believe it or not. I would like to invite you to come to do this.
Really?
Yeah, it's this weird higher connection of being super present, super feeling it in your body, feeling like all of the things. It was badass. And here I am doing it. And most of the time when I go to these groups, I'm one of maybe one guy
Yeah.
in this class.
10%.
Yeah. There was two of us, maybe three guys in the whole group, and there was maybe 25 total people there. And so a lot of times I'm in my own head like, here I am, this big hairy guy over there doing these moves. And
Which is really funny.
why is that funny?
It's you. You look like you should be out in the
I
mowing
should-
the lawn
on a
or something,
motorcycle. I should be on a
100%.
motorcycle.
Yeah.
I have a mohawk.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a Harley Davidson t-shirt. You know what I mean? Like,
Qigong.
He's doing the Qigong.
I was having such a wonderful
His
time.
little tiny dancer legs.
And so, okay, that's uncalled for and very personal.
I love you.
Fuck you, Topher. What I'm going for here
Please
is,
get to the point.
please get to the point, is you just got to go in with an open mind. You just got to show up and try these things on, because to believe that we have everything figured out is foolishness. And I have opened myself up to try out some Qui-Gon Jinn and all of these different experiences, and it's been awesome. I have learned so much stuff, and it's fun, and it's actually...
If you're telling me that this gave you the same experience that we get on a motorcycle,
We're
drop
doing
what
it.
you're doing, go do it. I'm in.
Okay.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring it to this level
Yeah.
because I don't think these boys understand. Like, I'm into all
Sure.
these
Yeah.
things, but this is something that is easy to equate across the board. We have a motorcycle club because all of us men and a few women get that. They get the wind in the hair and the traveling and the feeling and this is something that's I can't get. I've never been able to get anywhere else.
No.
Would you agree with
Same.
me?
Yep.
Ever.
Ever.
Yeah.
It's a unique thing to be on the motorcycle.
And I got it in this exercise, and I thought I probably won't get rear-ended or.
I believe that motorcycles are so unique. I'm willing to try just to
Yeah.
call you on it because I.
And I
It's-
would also say is that the thing that I love that you're saying, Rob, try different things out because we're all, again, different. And the Qigong for you is like, whoa, this is a thing. I've also so I bring a drum into my sound meditations because some people, the drum it's everything. As I'm drumming over them and they can feel the vibration and the boom, 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 boom. They say this. They're like, "Whoa! I went to a place
I left
that
my
I've
body,
gone
or
to
I
and
came
met
to my
in
body."
plant medicine,
Yeah.
right?" Or they're like, "Whoa! I just had this experience." I have a girlfriend. She'll say, she's like, "Can you come over and drum for me?" Like it's her thing. But when I play sound bowls for her, she's already floaty and flighty and like untethered, so it almost is too much. But then there are other people that are like, whoa, the sound, and like, what was that one that you were playing? And so there's lots of different modalities, tools. Ultimately, the goal is to just get you to quiet your mind.
Yeah.
To quiet your mind. And so whatever that is, we got to try things out, right? And figure out like, oh, this is my medicine. This is what works for me. And this is what, I enjoy. When I got my first sound bowl, it was, of course, the second chakra, the sacral, which is the womb. Because here I was doing this womb thing, and I was like, oh, I'll do a little sound bowl here, right? So I started playing that one, and then I was like, oh, I think I want one for my heart, and then I collected all of them. And but again, I think a lot of this is it unfolds, right? It's like life. It's like the aha moment that then you have the experience where you're in it and you're like, oh, I'm in this line and I'm realizing that I'm in this wheelchair and I'm having a really hard time with this, but I'm observing myself. And so it's experience. That's what life is, right? It's like we got to get out there, try things, say yes, ask yourself, did that work or not? Like it's what works for you. Yeah. And hey, if we want to get a group together to do some Qigong for the motorcycle crew, let's do it. And it'll be interesting, right? Because it'll be interesting to see like who all was totally digging that and then who wasn't. And then, maybe we pull a drum out and it's like, okay, who's digging that and who wasn't? And it's like, try it, go. It's like a buffet, like pick what you pick and take and choose what you want, like what works for you, and then come up with your own little, again, that's why I'm this customized blueprint that we do. It's so specific to like, what is your thing? And I love that you guys have this motorcycle group. Rob, when you messaged me earlier and you're like, what, what's your intention for the conversation? And I started thinking about my own experience with motorcycles. And I love being on a motorcycle. It's so free. It's like, I'm just like a free bird, and it's free, and the wind, and I'm an air sign, and I just love it. And I love the hum of just like, it's like you all get it. I'm talking and preaching to the choir. My 14-year-old has a motorcycle, and I get so much shit about him having a motorcycle. So much. It's dangerous. What if you could, all the things, right? Fear. But on the other side of that, fear, the or is like, yeah, but what is here? And like, are we going to live our lives in fear and like scared and like pulled back? Or are we going to go for it? And that's what I love about all of you guys riding and these women that are riding, is that that's a level of the fear that you've totally turned down. It doesn't even, because the reward and how it feels on the other side is so good that you've gotten so good at cranking that volume down. So what other areas and how else in your life can you find something you're scared of or find fear, and just start to kind of move that dial and turn it down a little bit and ask yourself, and what is it? Yeah.
Wow. That is great. In our group, when we ride our motorcycles together, we'll get to a spot, an overlook or something like that, and we pull over, and we've all been kind of vibing at the same mindfulness, and we get off, and we have such an amazing connection. And so this is something I've really enjoyed about like the sound bath that I did last Friday. Like afterward, it was like this moment of like, man, that was cool. Did you when the drumming and the thing, or did you?
You're telling me that we get that feeling and the post-ride meeting?
Yeah.
What are you doing from like November to
winter time? We got a new thing. Right. You guys, can you just imagine just like all the motorcycle gang, and then everybody's in like, I just was thinking about, what'd you call him, Twinkle Toes or something like
Tiny Dancer.
Oh, Tiny Dancer. Yeah. Hey, it's the super masculine and connecting with your feminine, just this whole human being that is give and receive. It's the full circle.
Yeah, back and forth, Rob. Back and forth.
You're about to get punched.
Okay, so back to the aftermath,
Yeah.
the euphoria.
Sorry. It's just the conversations that we have. The reason that we created the American Masterminds is because we connect and we talk about genius, this genius, that genius, this genius, and we have a moment to like, I'm gonna bounce it off of Scotty, and I'm gonna talk to him, and then we have like it's just this crazy cool thing that doesn't happen amongst men very often anymore. And I just see this happening in what you're creating in your in your tribe. And I just had that moment last Friday where I'm like, wow, this is familiar to me, and I'm only getting this in one place. And I know that there's a lot of places people can go to get that if that's what they're looking for, church or a bowling club, or I don't know what your thing is, but find something. Find something. And this is something great to find. The journey to happiness, if you're going to be a part of a group, why not be one in Kate's group that's creating this pathway? And so just want to throw that out to our listeners, because it's something that you should take seriously. If you haven't thought about it before, listeners, take a moment and think about, am I doing what I want with whom I want, and what am I going to get from doing that? Like, here's some of these questions, these journey questions that you're not asking yourself, you should be, and find your tribe. If it is bowling, good on you, or quilting, or whatever that journey is. The journey of self-mastery and self-improvement is something I've been on for a long time, and I've used plant medicine. And you are in this as a shaman. What are the benefits that you would say that this plant medicine is providing for you in your life, and then maybe into your clients' lives?
Thank you for this. So I first want to say, plant medicine is not the solution for everything in your life. I talked about this earlier. It's an aha moment. It's an awareness. It can be 10 years of therapy in one sitting. It can cut through bullshit like nothing else. Your mind isn't there to reason with anything or to try to make sense of anything. It's literally just this discovery, and your soul is the thing that like is shining forth the most. It's like this knowing. It's the clarity. And so that is why it's such a powerful tool. I want to be really clear. If you are thinking about sitting with plant medicine, you need to think of it as psychedelic surgery with a pre-op and a post-op. So Rob,
otherwise it's just drugs.
It's just drugs, escapism, and also when you know better and then you don't know how to implement that, talk about guilt and shame and that cycle. That's already going on, then you know better. So there's a disconnect because you've seen it and you're like, I don't know how to make it my reality though. So then there's this longing. It's like longing for something that's possible, but like, it's like you saw it, but now you can't have it. So think about, first of all, the pre-op, right? Like you just had knee surgery. There were things that you needed to do to prepare for that. Maybe you couldn't eat for a certain amount of time. Maybe you were taking certain medicines, antibiotics, getting your body healthy so you wouldn't get infection, whatever. You go in for the surgery, you have that experience, and then the post-op. The post-op's the most important because after you come out of surgery, if you go and mow the lawn, Rob, then your leg is going to suffer from that. Your knee is going to have it's just the post-op, right?
Yeah.
Those are things that you want to really be aware of. Ask whomever you're sitting with that plant medicine, how long have you been working with this medicine? What is in the medicine, right? What am I actually taking? How are you preparing for that? I have a client I'm working with right now. We're going to do a little private one-on-one, and we start 5 weeks before. And then we have 4 one-on-one calls before that to prepare. And guess where we're starting? Those 4 bodies, right? Because guess what? After she has this experience, if she's already dialed in to her physical, mental, emotional, spiritual practices for a whole month before, after the plant medicine, she gets to go into, well, these are the things I'm already doing every day. I'm already taking care of my physical, mental, emotional. So then...
Slingshot.
Yeah.
So now she's got a habit. She's already doing it. And now she gets to integrate that medicine. And then what happens is, of course, there's a lot of curiosity. And sometimes you see things that are like, whoo, this is like, this is some unpacking, right? Like I need to really work through this. And so it's not like you're at a retreat place that you get to work through this without coming home. You come back to your triggers. You come back to those people. You come back to the trauma. You come back to everything. And now you're more sensitive to it than you were before. And if you don't have the support, it can be a really, really negative thing. I have a client I've been working with for 18 months. She's super, super well known on Dancing with the Stars. So You Think You Can Dance. She's in Utah. They all get together one night. Somebody decides they're going to do mushrooms. And she ends up in a corner for 2 hours by herself, stuck in a traumatic sexual experience, and no one there to help her. So when you're a trained shaman, there's something that we work through called gates. And a gate is something that people get to that feel scary, hard, fear. You know, people have said like, oh, I saw the devil, oh, whatever. It's like, it's a dark thing. And if you don't have someone to help you work through that and you come out of the medicine, you are stuck in that loop.
Oh my
And
God.
it can be very hard. And then, you know, based off what people tell you, right? Oh, maybe you got bad medicine. Maybe that's your punishment, you know, like there's all these different things. So do some research, work with someone who's been with this and worked with the medicine for a long time. Ask the hard questions. Don't just take the first offer. You know, I have another person I've been working with, and she's in Florida, and she said she's so excited because she's like, you know, I've been talking about psilocybin with you, and I've been saying I wanted to do it, and I just had somebody say, hey, I've got this, and we can do this weekend. And I was like, okay, whoa. Like, number one, like, let's go through all these things. She's like, I hadn't even considered that. I just thought the universe was bringing someone into my life, bringing me the thing I've been wanting. Awesome. It's in your vortex now. It's in your awareness. It's coming. Yeah, but don't just say yes to the first thing. It's like if you want to buy a new car, the first car they show you at the place, you're not going to go, great, you showed me the car I wanted when I'm buying it. You're doing research, right? Like, what's the gas mileage on this? What's the whatever, all these things. It's like, find your best fit, because if you're doing plant medicine to get the most out of it, you're going to be on a journey with your shaman, with your person for a while, right? I mean, Rob, think about the integration coaching we've been doing and the layers. Even you shared about the proclamation to the world. That came as a result of a layer that got peeled back after we were still in this conversation and talking and coming together and like, okay, so what's next? So that staircase is real, and the plant medicine is just one of the tools. It's a powerful tool, but again, we're talking like it's powerful. You know, they were using this medicine in the 70s, right? And they bring it away. Why? Well, because you've had an aha moment and you want to share it with everyone, I love that intention. But if you're not qualified. It takes years, right? And unfortunately, I've seen a lot go wrong in medicine space, a lot. And I can tell you that set and setting matters, and every detail matters. The energy, the smell, the comfort, all of those things. If you're cold during a plant medicine journey because you didn't realize that your temperature is going to drop and you needed a blanket and socks, you're miserable. And all you can think about is how cold you are, and you're suffering for hours, right? It's like there's just these little things that you want to be able to know. And even preparing the body. Do you have to do the dieta perfectly? No, but let's talk about why. And then as you understand why, you're like, oh, okay, I want to do that, instead of you telling me I can't have it.
So just, you know, the diete, if you aren't familiar with the language, is before I went to Peru, it was like 2 months of diet, and now we're going to eliminate this from your diet, and then we'd eliminate this and we'd eliminate that. I didn't understand it. I saw it more as like a restraint than an enhancement. And so it's taken me a while. You know, the other thing, Kate, is I've never done integration on any of it. Any of the times I've sat with ayahuasca or anything, because I am untrusting, and I thought it was just an upsell. I didn't really see the value in it. No one has ever explained it the way that you just did. And I think that's why this integration work that we're doing has been so meaningful to me, because I just came home and I came back in the 2D world and tried to apply these aha moments by myself without knowing how. Like, I've had these amazing experiences, gifts, true gifts. And I can't unpack them because I don't know. I'm looking from an old perspective, not a perspective that do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
And so That's powerful stuff. I have never heard integration explained that way, and so thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's powerful, because that's not only is it part of it, it's mandatory. It's necessary. Otherwise, you're only doing drugs. You're not.
100%. If your marriage is struggling, you go to a marriage counselor.
Yeah.
You get help. You know you need the help. You know the marriage is struggling, but you need support. If your knee needs rehab, even though you got the surgery, you need to go do the rehab. Like, you've got to do the thing. And so plant medicine's similar, right? It's like, it's deep therapy in a short amount of time. And then how are you going to actually like now embody that, become that, practice that? And again, you said it earlier, sometimes things feel so far away. It's like, gosh, I got a lot to do. I don't even know where to start. Overwhelmed. So if you can have someone sit with you and say, okay, let's start with one of those things. What's one thing you can do every single day there, right? And then life happens. You're going to get triggered. Something's going to come up. It's really nice to be able to pick up the phone and say, okay, so help me process through this, right? Like we did with the proclamation. It was like, oh gosh, it was real time. It's real time stuff. So it's not even like you could take a course after or take a thing after and say, okay, everybody, you did plant medicine. Now go do this.
Do the workbook.
Yeah.
Well, it's so unique. It's like, we don't know what's going to come up. So again, whether you're getting some group support or one-on-one support or both or as needed, it's just, again, it's if you really, really want to do the work, if you're really doing it for the purpose of that. And then we always do better in community. Yeah. Always.
We're pack animals, aren't we?
We are. And so even knowing that, like, sharing or hearing of like, whoa, okay, well, I'm not the only one, or we're trying to make sense of it anyway. And so that check-in, that integration, that community is really helpful. And what you'll see is universally, you said it with the abundance thing, so fascinating that our economy is creating something within all of us of like, we're feeling that scarcity. Like, it's a thing. I ended up shifting and doing payment plans that I've never done before the last year. 'Cause I'm like, how am I going to meet people where they are? Do I have to have all the money up front? No. Okay. Or what if we do it this way? Oh, cool. That works better for you. So you can space it out. Me too. That's fine. So again, it's being open to like, what does this process look like? But knowing, and you've heard this before, they call it a journey for a reason. Oh, I journeyed this weekend. Cool. How's that journey still going? Right? Like, what is your aftercare?
Yeah. You don't just get off the train.
You just got on the train. Hold on. Get somebody in your passenger seat with you who can guide you through it. And ultimately, you're looking for someone who's going to keep bringing you back to you being the medicine and you uncovering it, because anything other than that is codependency, right? It's like, oh, you need me. You can't do it without me. I've watched a lot of these things and heard a lot of these communities, in medicine space. It's like, no, I got to go. I need an energy clearing. I got to go to my person,
shaman,
or I got to do this. It's like, okay, maybe once or twice, but let's teach you how to do this for yourself so that you can self-soothe and not be dependent on the thing. Because I've seen a lot here in Utah, really, where people have gone from religion to now plant medicine. You're just trading one thing for the next.
100%.
So, and again, if you are, be aware, just, oh my gosh, I see that I'm doing that. Well, that makes sense. I've been in this program for a long time. That feels comfortable to me. It's like the next thing. And there's a thing called spiritual bypassing, right? Which is where you get into this world of spirituality, and it's like, oh, I'm just going to think positive. I'm just going to be happy. I'm just going to whatever. Like, I know better. No, there's still, again, the body keeps the score. We've had all this trauma or these emotional things in our lives that when you do the plant medicine, you become more aware of it. You're like, oh, this is an interesting thing. I didn't feel safe before, but now that I do, how can I start to like uncover and unravel this? And coming back to what you said about this list of like all these podcast guests, and there's like all these things, we all have it. We really do. There's on some level, everyone needs to look at worthiness in their lives, right? And especially if you are, been part of some kind of religion where things were outside and you were trying to get to, this certain place. The acceptance of it is where the freedom is, though, right? And then this is the community piece where we're like, oh, we all have this? Turns out, okay, y'all, here we go. Let's go, right? And you can get out of the shame and guilt around it.
Brilliant. Oh, man. We could go on, but Kate, you have been amazing. Such a great guest, and I felt like I've learned so very much from you. Thank you for being a part of our podcast. Grateful for your time. Listeners, tune in, check in, follow Kate, ask yourself the hard questions, find a guide, find a trusted resource like Kate, and plug in. You deserve happiness. You're worthy of happiness. We're grateful that you're a part of this podcast. Please share this podcast with someone that you think this would resonate with them or is ready for the message. Please take your time to be a part of a community that is going to help you grow and be happy. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.